Pokemon on the Switch. It was a grand, thrilling mystery. The excitement was undermined with Let's Go. The light was all but extinguished. Hope pierced this veil and a promise was made. Pokemon was still coming in 2019. A new mystery was born that lasted months. But the time has come. The usurper lies defeated. It is time to take up our arms and march to the Galar region. This is the journey to Pokemon Sword and Shield. With the Sword and Shield videos finally starting to wind down now, and since we have no new information to go on, I can finally get back to doing random Pokemon videos for the journey to Sword and Shield. Now, this doesn't mean those theories and speculations are gone. I am in fact working on something big, and I just need the time to write that script. So that's why I'm doing this video. It's funny, in my 3 years of doing YouTube, a year and a half of which was being a full-time Poketuber, I never once did a list of my favorite Pokemon. So that is what we're going to be doing in this video. I am going to share a list of my favorite Pokemon by generation. These are all my favorites, so don't get upset if one that you like isn't on this list. So let's begin with Kanto. Despite me hating this region, some 3 of my favorite Pokemon come from this very region. Going in numerical order, we start with Fearow. I know many dislike this Pokemon, and I didn't think anything of it until I started this channel, actually. In my first ever Let's Play, which I do not suggest watching, it's bad, but my playthrough of Blue, which was my first playthrough, I used a Fearow, and it quickly became my favorite Pokemon. And it even won a place as my channel mascot until I rebranded myself. The next from Kanto is Gengar. This one is very special as it is what introduced me to Pokemon. I told this story before in a Ghost-type special I did for a Halloween a few years ago. But the gist of it is, I was a wee little phoenix and I was being pushed through the toy aisle and I could pick any toy. And it was Pokemon season, so there was Pokemon toys everywhere. And a Gengar plush is what I picked. It was my introduction to the series. And the last Pokemon from Kanto is Lapras. I've always loved this Pokemon, mostly because it resembles the Loch Ness Monster, which makes me hope it gets a Galarian form in Sword and Shield. It always seemed like a Pokemon that would just always love you. It just seems kind, you know? Moving on to the next generation now, Johto. My favorites begin to dwindle here. There is only one Pokemon from Johto I adore and ranks in my favorite, and that is Yanma. This is mostly because I love dragonflies, but it is also because this Pokemon is just so adorable overall. But that's all she wrote for Johto. Hoenn in Generation 3 plays home to some of my favorite Pokemon of all time. My number 1, in fact, is from Hoenn. And that Pokemon is Gardevoir. And no, not because of that, you perverts. There is actually a story why I love this Pokemon. In Emerald, and in all Pokemon games, I won't move on to the next area until I caught all the Pokemon in that route. And that means I hunted for a Routes. Well, after a half hour of searching, I find a female Routes, and she joins my team. In early game, Psychic type is always good. Well, by the Elite Four, she was my best Pokemon, and she pulled me through some of the hardest battles of that game, being the last surviving Pokemon on my team in some battles. That is why this Pokemon is, and always will be, my all-time favorite. The only other favorite in this generation, going in order, is Milotic, mostly because of how pretty this Pokemon is. But also because I busted my ass to get that Feebas and Diamond and Pearl. And even busted it further to get the berry mixture just right to get it evolved. It was a long ordeal to get. It was a proud moment for me to bust out Milotic in some battles with friends. Moving on to Sinnoh now. Whew. It might not be known, but Sinnoh is my favorite generation of Pokemon, and plays home to most of my favorites, in fact. There are many, and some don't have stories to them, so I'm just going to say them in order as they come. It all starts with Turtwig and Torterra. They have been my favorite starters ever, and there is no reason to it. I've just always loved this Pokemon and its evolution, and that is why you see it as Dante's starter in my fanfic series. Vespiquen comes next, mostly because of her rarity. It's a lot like Milotic. It was so hard to get in Diamond and Pearl, and when you had one, it was a moment of celebration. It's a shame it's such a subpar Pokemon. Drifloon comes next, mostly because it's so damn cute, and I've always loved it. Skorupi ends the Sinnoh Pokemon, and like Turtwig, it's just one of those Pokemon I've loved with no reason behind it. It even earned a spot in the fanfiction as well because of favoritism, really. There's one more on this list in the next generation that is featured in the fanfic because I just loved it. But moving on to Gen 5 and Unova, it was an interesting gen as it introduced to us the most Pokemon since Generation 1. And there are quite a few here I love. The first one going by number is Klinklang, or as I will call it and always will call it, Giga Gear. I know this Pokemon gets a lot of hate, but I've always loved it. It's so weird, and the mechanicalness of it and the lore behind it, it just interests me to know how old it actually is. It just all comes together to make me adore this Pokemon. I was so happy to use this Pokemon in my first playthrough of Black and White, honestly. Galar comes next. It's no secret that I go nuts for this Pokemon. It's a living Golem Colossus. It draws inspirations from both my favorite ancient wonder as well as my favorite mythical construct. And it flies! And it's also in my fanfiction because of favoritism. And last from Unova is Braviary, another Pokemon I call by a different name. For me, this is Wargle. I just love birds. It's just something that's part of me, and to have a Pokemon based off eagles, it just wins me over. All three of these Pokemon were on my team in my first playthrough, and they all pulled their own weight time after time. Fun fact, Giga Gear and Wargle are the Japanese names for both of them. Oh, going to Gen 6 and Kalos. Oh, my love for this region is kept a shy secret since this is one of the most hated generations of Pokemon. I just love the comfiness of the region. There are 2 Pokemon, though, that I can call favorite from here. Well, 3, but the third is a technicality. First, we come to Malamar. I love squids, and this was the first squid Pokemon, and it was just an awesome typing with Psychic and Dark. With the right ability, this Pokemon is a danger, and I proudly used it. In my personal playthrough of Ultra Moon, in fact, this was my totem killer. This, with Foul Play, ripped through everything, even one-shotting Ultra Necrozma. So many people sleep on this great Pokemon, but they shouldn't. Next up is Trevenant, but not the normal form, only the shiny. It's one of my favorite shiny Pokemon, and just because it's awesome to have a Pokemon based off an Ent, which is an awesome mythical creature to begin with. But being white in the red accents reminds me of the weirwood trees from Game of Thrones, so it's up there because of that. And last from Kalos, but also on a technicality since this form of it was introduced in Gen 7, is Zygarde. But not the base form. I go crazy for its perfect form. I'm a Gundam nut. I build the Gunpla models and I enjoy the anime, so having perfect Zygarde resemble a Gundam or a mecha in general, yeah, it just took the top spot of my favorite legendary. Alola and Generation 7. Oh, how nice and warm this region felt. Well, there wasn't much introduced here. There are some great Pokemon in there, and some of them inch their way into my favorites. There really is only 3 here, though, and in order like the others, we start with Sandygast and Palossand. Mostly Palossand, though. I grouped these together, and they are also like Trevenant, though. Their shinies are what makes me love them. The black sand is awesome, and it's awesome way it ties the Pokemon into the location they exist in, since Hawaii has black sand on some islands. I'll never forget catching my first shiny one of these. And Harrenhal, another Game of Thrones reference because it's a Black Castle. I'm sure if you know the show, you know the reference. But oh my god, I am so proud to have her on my team. Next is Mimikyu, and while this is one of the most shilled Pokemon from Gen 7, I love it for the sheer raw power it brings to battle. One speeding moon, I quickly got to work breeding a battle-ready one and used it to sweep my way through the battle tree and onto online battles with its partner in crime, and the last Pokemon on this list, Celesteela. I don't know what it is that makes me love this massive Pokemon. I think it was just the sheer size of it that made me love it. I wish there was a better story behind this, but that is really it. It was a great Pokemon in battle. It was a gigantic Pokemon, and it's so alien and so unique. It just makes me love that giantess. I'm sure you know what I mean. And now we are moving on to Galar. Ooh. Well, we don't have anything right now outside of the starters. I am sure there will be some Pokemon that I will love. Well, the starters right now haven't found a way into my favorites. There is one that I have a soft side for. And right now, it's the one who I will choose. Sobel Squad, rise up! Well, that's it. Finally, I shared all my favorite Pokemon. It only took me 3 years to get this video out. These are my favorites and will always be in that list for me. Who are some of your favorites? Let me know. I'm curious to know what Pokemon everyone likes. Did we have some in common? I'm very curious. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and share around. It helps me grow the channel, and I really do appreciate it. Become an Ember of the Phoenix by following me on Twitter. The links can be found in the description below. Go check out some of the other series I have going on this channel. Mondays and Fridays are Stardew Valley. Tuesdays and Thursdays are Pokemon Uranium. Wednesday is Journey to Pokemon Sword and Shield, obviously. Saturday is my Pokemon Fiction Axiom. And Sundays can be anything, so best check on Twitter to see what's going on with them. It's a crapshoot, really. If any of that sounds interesting to you, be sure to check it out. And with all that said, this has been Black Phoenix. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.